So I've seen a couple of you ask me, what innovations would I add to Black Ops Cold War? Because, yeah, it's easy for me to say the game isn't very innovative or very interesting, but if I can't back that up with at least one solid idea, then I'm sort of just whining instead of being constructive. So I got hard at work. And by hard at work, I mean I spun around in my chair and thought for a minute. At first, I started thinking way too big. I thought about new attachments, perks, score streaks, character customization. I thought about destructible environments. I thought of all of the little things that Treyarch could have done to separate this entry from other entries in the series and other shooters that are out at the time. Then I realized that the innovation would be pointless to bring up in a video unless it remedied an issue or two. And I have two personal issues with Black Ops Cold War. One, the lack of variety, and two, Cold War's general lack of flavor. I think flavor is a really good way to describe what Modern Warfare did. It didn't innovate drastically in the franchise or with shooters in general, but it's the little bits of flavor. Mounting, fire selects, doors opening and closing, conversion kits. These things might not be always competitive, these things might not always be balanced, but hell, they're little bits of flavor. They're not the substance of the meal, they're not the protein of what makes a good shooter, but they're the little parts of it that kept me coming back. It's the little part of it that made me crave it. Because yeah, it was abusable freedom. And Cold War doesn't have any of that. It doesn't have realistic weapon models and animations and amazing sound design and fire select switches and things of the sort. It feels very, very traditional arcadey COD, and that's how most people have been describing it. So, since Cold War is clearly going for simplicity, and that's not just a byproduct of laziness, let's assume, a simplistic little sprinkle of flavor will both add variety and flavor. So, what is it? Day and night cycles and weather cycles. I think this could have helped Black Ops Cold War immensely just due to the visual variety aspect of the game. The game did not launch with a lot of content, multiplayer-wise, or zombies-wise, or fireteam-wise. It just didn't launch with a lot of content. Imagine if each map had 4 different times of day: morning, afternoon, evening, and night, and every time you launched into a map, it had a chance to be one of those 4 things. And then there were different weather cycles. Some maps could have heavy snow, some maps could have some fog and rain, some maps could just have a thunderstorm or wind, and these weather cycles could come in and out of each game you're in. Doesn't just mean when you load into Miami, it's gonna be rain Miami for the entire match. It could just have a rainstorm pop up during it. And maybe that hurts visibility at the longest lines of sight, maybe the thunder masks footstep sounds a little bit, but really it would just be mostly for visual variety. It wouldn't really be that big of a weight on gameplay. I wouldn't want it to be. It'd be very frustrating to try to load into Black Ops Cold War to level up your sniper, and then you keep getting foggy night matches and it's really hard to see anyone. No, I wouldn't want that. But I would still want it to be something tangible that's visible and that is interacting with the world to some degree. So when I say night map, I do think like Miami night map, not Modern Warfare night map, so you'd still be able to see things pretty well. Does this open the game up to shenanigans? Yes. Does it make the game a little less competitive? In my opinion, no. If they handled it properly and kept visibility good, you could have a full moon on every night map to make it really nice and bright. Now, some of you are way more about substance in your shooters than flavor. You're way more about the competition than the experience, and I totally get that. It will be up to Treyarch to balance weapons, so I don't really care about the talks of balance. Currently, I do not think Cold War is a balanced, fair video game that has a fun sandbox to play around. When I enter a building on Nuketown and I just get one-tapped by a Howler, when I'm landing hit markers on somebody that has a sniper rifle pointed down an alleyway and I still get taken out in one shot because I can't kill them faster than they can kill me. You know, so if you're worried about the substance, the competition, the protein of the game, worry about that. I'm worried about the fact that Cold War just doesn't have anything interesting. There's nothing that Cold War does that keeps me coming back. I think people like the pacing of Cold War and unlocking camos and the progression of Cold War. I don't think that anybody is coming back for an interesting mechanic or experience they can't get somewhere else. The Battlefield games played with weather rolling in and out of maps. The Battlefield games had Levolution, and also they had a map where the time of day would slowly change. But I think it'd be really cool to just have each map have several different visual variants with some interactable variants with the weather. I think that would have been really cool. And yes, people would complain. They'd be like, oh, it's too windy, I can't hear the footsteps now. Oh, it's too rainy, I hate rain in video games. And they'd throw a fit, and that's probably why they haven't done anything like this. Some people are so particular about their games, they would just whine. They'd be like, oh, it's the daytime version of Miami, I'm not playing it. Oh, it's the nighttime version of Cartel, keep that thing away from me. And they're just not gonna play, and they're just gonna whine the entire time. Oh, it's raining on Cartel, I'm not playing. That would happen, and you can't avoid that happening, but I think that it's worth it. Things that are visually dynamic or varied make the game feel more alive, and for a Call of Duty game, it would be the first time we had ever seen that sort of feature, and I think that's worth pointing out, that that's the first time we would have ever seen that. Black Ops Cold War doesn't have a lot of firsts or flavor or variety to its name, and I think my little idea here could potentially help with that. But like with everything, the implementation of this idea would be the most important part. How do they handle visibility? How different are the different times of day? Are some versions of the maps just unplayable if you have like a certain combination of this time of day and this weather system? It would obviously be all about the implementation and not solely the idea itself. Something I said throughout the year was that just because I prefer large, complex maps doesn't mean I think every large, complex map is good. The map still has to be well balanced and fun to play on at the end of the day. So just because I prefer a style of something doesn't mean that it being implemented at all is a good thing. It has to be implemented fairly well. So last thing before I go here, I do live stream on this channel, and I hope you guys like my videos and my content. If you do, subscribe, hit the bell icon to know when I go live, and if you like my idea, let me know in the comment section and how you would implement something like this. See you when I see you. Goodbye.